Tonight, the disabled former boxer carjacked.
Everything happened so quickly. I was just hanging on for dear life. Evil thugs, that's what they are.
The family man fatally attacked in a fit of road rage. And the attempted murder of a police officer.
Everything slowed down. Thinking that's it, you've got minutes to live.
Live for the next hour, this is Crimewatch. Good evening and welcome to Crimewatch. Tonight we're investigating crime on our roads. So we brought our mobile incident unit to the Millbrook Proving Ground in Bedfordshire. Now this is where vehicles are put through their paces and subjected to all manner of safety and capability checks on the 70 kilometres of test tracks. It's also used as a location for film shoots, including Aston Martin stunts in Bond movies.
But no matter how safe our cars have become, over 90% of accidents involve human error to some degree. Many of these crashes result in serious injury and death because people have ignored the law. New legislation has just come into force, doubling the penalties for drivers using their phones at the wheel. So later, we'll be putting Jeremy to the test to show just how dangerous texting whilst driving is.
But we begin with a crime which, though a serious problem in many countries, is still relatively rare in the UK. Carjacking is the violent theft of a vehicle from its owner. It's dangerous and terrifying for any victim. Hard to believe then that a couple of weeks ago someone would attempt to do this to a now disabled sports hero. Former boxer Michael Watson is no stranger to adversity.
Always been a smart mover.
He made headlines in 1989 when, at the height of his career, he won by a knockout against the Commonwealth champion Nigel Benn.
The underdog has won and he's done it in style.
But just 2 years later, a fight against Chris Eubank ended in tragedy. Michael sustained a serious brain injury, which required 6 operations and ended his boxing career.
I had to learn to walk again. My big fight was the fight of survival.
Over the following 26 years, Michael made an extraordinary recovery. Despite limited movement on his left side, he went on to become a dedicated charity fundraiser. But less than 3 weeks ago, Michael's safety was back in the balance when he became the target of a terrifying attack. That day, Michael was with his lifelong friend and now carer, Leonard.
I grew up with Michael from the age of about 14, and I've always been close friends with him. We lived next door to one another.
I'm regarding him as more than just a friend to me. We're brothers.
We went to a restaurant, had a little meal, took a light walk, jumped into the car.
As they were driving, a white Mercedes pulled up behind them.
We were just waiting in the traffic, and I just felt a little bang on the back of the car. Walked over to the car. The passenger jumped out.
The driver sprayed ammonia into Leonard's eyes. Then both men attacked him and beat him to the ground.
I landed on my knees, and I was still swinging, and they were just squirting more at me, kicking at me.
One attacker leapt into the car where Michael was waiting and sprayed him with ammonia too.
That's when I tried to escape out of the car.
But his arm was trapped.
The seatbelt was still tangled around my shoulders when I fell out of the car. It came like a nightmare. I couldn't believe it. It was actually happening. I felt like my skin peeling off. I was just hanging on for dear life. Then from there, I just passed out.
Leonard watched, helpless, as Michael was dragged several hundred meters along the road before the driver stopped and fled.
I kept on saying, is Michael dead? Is he dead? We got message back saying that he's in the ambulance and he's talking. The relief that just ran down me and the happiness that ran back up, you know, it was unbelievable.
Amazingly, Michael escaped without major injury.
No bones were broken. Thank God, especially that my head wasn't smashed in. I just came through it with bumps and grazes. I was very lucky to escape.
Someone who does something like this has no respect for humanity.
Evil thugs, that's what they are. They're evil and senseless. They have no heart.
Well, we can speak to the lead officer on this case now, Superintendent Paul Clements. Thanks very much for joining us. Terrifying for these two men.
Jeremy, it's a shocking attack in broad daylight on a busy road in Waltham Forest, a safe borough. I spoke to Michael and Leonard today. They're both still shaken and they have significant physical injuries and emotional from the trauma as well. That will take time to heal.
You've heard from some witnesses, I know. You're appealing for more.
That's right. So I'd like to hear from anybody who was in the area of the Ridgeway in Chingford on the 16th of February at around 5 p.m. So that's just a couple of weeks ago.
The men squirted Michael and Leonard in the face with ammonia.
We believe it was ammonia, yes. Jeremy, I'm dismayed at this level of violence and cowardice on this. I'd just like to say thank you and pay special tribute to Michael and Leonard who are reliving this now for the purpose of this appeal.
Now, there's some CCTV which may be helpful. Just talk us through it. We'll see it on the screen here.
That's right. So you'll see this white Mercedes, which originally was in front of Michael's distinctive Golf.
Which is there, the blue car,
Which is a blue Golf with silver wing mirrors. And on this particular shot here, it's behind Michael's Golf. So we would like to hear from the occupants of that car.
And it's a white C or E-Class Mercedes.
Or E-Class Mercedes, that's
with
right.
tinted windows.
With tinted windows.
Thank you very much indeed. A really shocking case. If you can help in any way, I would really urge you to pick up the phone. The number to call is 08085 600 600. Calls are free from landlines and mobile phones. Tina.
Tonight's roundup of criminals caught on camera now, beginning with the disturbing stabbing of a have-a-go hero. These two friends are in a shop in Bournemouth late on a Sunday night. An argument breaks out with the shopkeeper when they try to buy alcohol. They're not happy, but eventually they leave. Once outside, though, things turn nasty. One produces a knife and threatens the shopkeeper. A passerby steps in and tries to disarm the knifeman. The blade falls to the floor and is picked up by the other friend, who moments later stabs the innocent have-a-go hero in the back. He's been sentenced to 6 years in prison and the victim has made a full recovery. But who is his accomplice? Police need his name tonight. Look carefully at the top left of your screen. A motorbike is idling in the road in Peckham, South London. But what are they waiting for? Another camera reveals all. The robber in the high-vis jacket calmly walks across the road then strikes, rugby tackling a security guard as he leaves a post office with the takings. His friend on the bike is ready and they ride off at speed with the cash box, leaving the security guard lying in the road. They fled with over £3,000 in cash. The stolen bike was later found abandoned. They may have hidden their identities, but someone knows who these bandit bikers are. A garage forecourt in Barnsley and a lorry driver is making a delivery. But he's being watched very closely. As he goes inside, the thieves strike, taking cigarettes from the back of the lorry. Look at the top of your screen. The delivery driver spots them in their car and confronts them. And as he climbs in to take back the loot, they speed off, leaving him hanging out of the door. They make their getaway with the petrified worker still hanging on. He finally escaped when the car stopped in a side street. But with him stranded, the thieves see another opportunity, returning to the garage and stealing yet more cigarettes. Who is the callous driver? Police need a name tonight. This man boards a District Line train on the London Underground one Wednesday evening. He takes a seat and talks to the people around him. Suddenly, without warning, he jumps up and punches an unsuspecting stranger in the face, breaking his jaw. Take a close look at him. Who is he? It's well after last orders at this pub in a small fishing village in Devon. So what are these men up to? As the landlord and his family sleep upstairs, the thieves make their way through the rooms downstairs. They don't seem to be in any rush though, going from room to room before helping themselves. Police say almost £4,000 in cash was taken from the pub and an adjoining small post office. It's left a family business devastated. Names, please. Call on the usual Crimewatch number on 08085 600 600 if you can name anyone we've just shown. Or you can text us on 63399, just type crime space and then your message. Text will be charged at your standard message rate. And remember, you can follow all of the developments during the programme on our live updates webpage.
Last week, new legislation came into force, doubling the penalties for drivers caught using a phone at the wheel to 6 points and a £200 fine. The new, tougher punishments are aimed at reducing the numbers of fatalities and serious injuries caused by drivers using their phones. So we have taken a look at the devastating impact this and other road crimes can have on people's lives. Cutting-edge technology means the cars we drive are now safer than ever before. But it seems our behaviour behind the wheel hasn't kept up. In fact, road crime has gone up a gear. For the first time in years, parts of the UK have seen incidents of drink driving going up. Cases of hit and run involving casualties have risen. And CCTV and dash cams regularly capture the rage of road users across the UK. So what's going on with Britain's drivers?
One of the remarkable things about the psychology of driving is that law-abiding people who would never consider breaking the law in any other area will break the law regularly when driving.
In fact, a recent police crackdown caught almost 8,000 of us using mobile phones at the wheel. Research shows that younger drivers are most likely to text while driving. So we spoke to some students about their habits on the road.
I think I'm the best driver.
I'm definitely not a danger on the road.
I've been told I'm above average.
What they don't realise is that watching them upstairs is Kate Goldsmith. Last year, her life changed following a crash caused by a distracted driver.
I've been in the vehicle where people are on the phone, maybe they're driving and they just quickly check a text.
The main thing is changing song.
It's almost like it's not scary because you feel like they're in control.
In my car I have Bluetooth, so I only really use it to change a song.
And how do you change a song?
On my phone.
Kate decides it's time to tell them what happened to her family.
They were coming back from holiday. This picture was taken on the way home.
Kate's daughter Amy was travelling with family members Tracy Houghton and her sons Josh and Ethan.
Whilst they were waiting in this line of traffic, a lorry driver who was using his phone to play music, as you were just saying, was coming down behind them. He was so focused on his phone that he didn't see the line of traffic. He didn't brake. He was doing 50 miles an hour, and they were killed instantly.
Footage taken from the lorry caught the distracted driver and the moment of impact.
People don't really think skipping the next song can do something this big and have it completely change someone's life.
That's heartbreaking to hear, and you don't think about it when you check your phone at a text. You don't think that you could injure or kill someone.
Before this happened, I used my phone. I am ashamed to say that, but I did.
Such a simple thing as well. Like, just don't look at your phone.
And the government is listening to people like Kate, with new tougher penalties implemented just last week. Officers from the road crime team at Staffordshire Police confront this problem almost every day.
From the 1st of March this year, it's £200 fine and 6 points on your licence, and the option for an educational course has been removed. It shows that the government is proactively targeting the offence and telling people how serious the offence is.
It's not long before they catch someone in the act.
See it? Can you see it? I've seen her with a phone in her left hand. I've come alongside her, she's talking, either talking to herself or somebody on the phone. Follow her in, mate. Do you want to pull in, please, somewhere safe for me? Let's have a chat with her then. What were you doing then?
I was on hands-free.
As in, you mean like loudspeaker?
Yeah.
Right, you know that's an offence?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
You're supposed to have your phone in like a hands-free type thing on your dashboard, maybe something that's linked into your speakers.
There's no point in just increasing a penalty. People have to understand why the penalty has been increased. They have to want to change their behaviour.
Dr. Chapman uses a simulator at the University of Nottingham to study just how dangerous distractions at the wheel can be.
The kind of thing you can spot really easy in the simulator is where people's attention is while they're driving. You can monitor their eye movements, you can measure their brain activity, you can see just how long they're doing something else, how hard their brain is working on the other tasks they're doing instead of driving. The problem is if they look away and look back 2 seconds later, the whole road situation could have changed.
In the real world, it's a constant issue for the police.
People aren't concentrating on their driving, they're on the phone updating Facebook or paying bills on the internet, etc. It just becomes an extension of people now, mobile phones, and that's being transferred into the driving seat, and it shouldn't be. They should be kept, definitely kept separate.
We followed you for quite a distance, and you're holding the mobile phone in your hand. So would you have done that on your driving test? Pardon? No. So what's the difference now today?
But it isn't just distraction that can make people a menace behind the wheel.
One of the surprising things about being in a car is it gives you a degree of anonymity. You think you can do stuff that you wouldn't do in normal life. One of the surprises from research is that normally mild-mannered people are prepared to be aggressive behind the wheel.
Everyday issues can quickly become serious incidents. The driver of this car swerved to avoid these pedestrians as they crossed the road in Scunthorpe last year. A heated discussion followed, but instead of driving off, he reversed and then purposely lined up his car to drive directly into them. They were left with life-changing injuries. The driver, Mohammed Abdullah, has since been convicted of GBH and sentenced to 6 years imprisonment.
In a road rage situation, the perpetrator has got so involved in the driving situation that they've lost all perspective. They feel they have to do something. Unfortunately, what they're doing is using 2 tons of metal to express their frustration.
But even when collisions are accidental, it seems that some of us are not doing the right thing. Police believe that the driver of this dark car lost control before crashing into a 17-year-old girl and then drove off without stopping, leaving her with head injuries.
The law requires you to stop if you've been involved in a road accident. However, most people, at the time of a road accident, that's not what they're thinking about. They're terrified. If they want this not to have happened, they want to get away from the situation.
Police are appealing for anyone with information to come forward. And unfortunately, such crimes aren't rare. In London alone, there were almost 5,000 hit-and-run casualties in 2015. Last year, Chanel Higgins's life was changed beyond recognition when she headed home from a night out in South London. Shocking CCTV footage captured what happened. A grey BMW mounted the curb, sped along the pavement and knocked Chanel and her friend over.
The last thing I remember was going in the ambulance and screaming about my legs hurting, trying to reach for my leg, and then blacking out and waking up in a hospital bed with all tubes in my mouth, my neck, my nose. They told me that I was paralysed and I had very limited use to my hands. It was just horrible, like, if I'm honest, I just wanted to die right then and there. Because I couldn't imagine myself without my legs and my hands. I'm going to be confined to a wheelchair. For the rest of my life, it was heartbreaking, especially as I got 2 kids.
Police are still working to bring the driver to justice.
If he had stopped and to check on me and my friend, I would have maybe had a bit more respect for him. But as he didn't, he's just pure evil.
There's a real paradox at the heart of modern driving. Cars are getting cleverer and safer all the time, but we still manage to have crashes. That's because most crashes are due to the driver, not the car.
And with the human cost of road crimes so high, this is something that we all need to address. Some stories of lives changed there. And I've just come inside where we can speak to Kate Goldsmith, whom we saw in our film, along with the Assistant Chief Constable of the local Triforce area, Simon Hawkins, and also the AA's Edmund King. And firstly, Kate, I know incredibly difficult to talk about what happened to Amy, but you're determined to change the culture.
I am. It's just the heartbreak that my family are going through. There has to be some good that comes out of this. We have to change the way that people behave in their cars. They're distracting paraphernalia around them.
Simon, we mentioned increased penalties, but you have to catch people, and actually police are catching fewer now than they did a few years ago.
I think, yeah, we've got our challenges, but at the end of the day, we will protect the public. Our first duty will be to do that, and we will pursue people who use their phones while on the road.
You got the manpower to do that?
We certainly will look at it, and we'll look at other ways that we can do things. We're encouraging the public to report through Dashcam. We're working with our partners in Highways Agency, and we'll certainly look to, all the opportunities we can to make sure that we can stop people using their phones.
Edmund King, the AA's helped put together an advert which compares, have a look at it now, the texting driver with the drunk driver, and suggests actually the texting driver is maybe even more dangerous.
Well, it's quite shocking, really, but the facts do show that if you're texting and driving, you're likely to have a crash as you are drink driving. And what the ad says is you wouldn't drink drive, don't text and drive. So it's basically playing on those 20 years or so of good drink drive ads that have changed attitudes and made drink driving socially unacceptable. And we really need to do the same with texting and driving because, you know, as we've seen, it kills.
So education is the thing for you, is it?
Well, I think education combined with enforcement and the new penalties, you know, I think the 6 penalty points, particularly for new drivers, means they'll lose their licence, they have to retake their test. So I think it's a combination. If you look at drink driving, seat belts, all those campaigns have had 3 elements, and you need all 3 elements to change attitudes.
Kate, what do you think between education on the one hand and enforcement on the other? Where's the answer?
Quite frankly, I think we should all be taking responsibility as drivers for our own actions. I don't think we should be relying on the police to stop us if we break the law. We need to stop doing it, full stop. Don't use your phone when you're driving a vehicle. It's as simple as that.
Simon, if a member of the public takes a picture of another driver on their phone, can you make use of that? Should they send it to you?
Yes, definitely.
Because the driver would just say, I was stationary.
There are ways that we can use that information and we can prosecute. So yes, we would encourage the public to help us with that.
So people should start taking pictures of each other.
It's something that we have done and we are starting to do more now. So
because it seems desperate. This is just running away from you, isn't it?
I think the issue is that, you know, we're trying to now re-educate people that mobile use is not acceptable, and it's going to take some time. But I think at the same time we will protect the public. That's what we're here for, and we will do that.
Edmund, maybe the problem is people having these phones in the car at all.
Well, yeah, I think once you get in the car, the best advice is to turn the phone off, put it in the glove compartment, turn the glove compartment into a phone compartment, and then you get rid of that risk, that temptation of the text or the tweet.
Thank you very much, Kate, Simon and Edmund, for joining us today. Now, police are appealing for witnesses to both of the hit-and-run cases we featured in our film. Terrible, terrible stories. The first took place on the 28th of January at 6:30 p.m. on Bromsgrove Street, Birmingham. They believe that the car is a BMW with a defective passenger side brake light. Officers are appealing for the driver to come forward and anyone with information to call in. Detectives on the Chanel Higgins case are with us tonight. They're looking for anyone with information on who was driving this grey BMW at 4:30 a.m. on Sunday, the 29th of May, close to Scandals nightclub in West Norwood in London. Please get in touch if you have information on either case. Plus, it's worth knowing that victims of any crime can speak to victim support. They are on 0808 1689 111. Right, still to come tonight. The urgent hunt for the gunman who used an AK-47 to try to murder a police officer.
I felt something hit me. I looked down and saw the bone was hanging out of my arm. I didn't feel any pain, but I ran for cover.
Wanted faces first, starting with 35-year-old Matthew John Porter. He was arrested by detectives investigating a robbery at a jeweller's where £250,000 worth of jewellery and watches were taken. He was released on police bail but didn't return for further questioning. Porter has numerous tattoos, including female figures on his legs and right arm. He has family and friends in Lincolnshire and the West Midlands.
This is Lisa Hawkswell, formerly known as Craig John Hawkswell. She was sentenced to 14 years for 2 counts of rape and 7 charges of indecent assault against teenage girls, but didn't turn up in court for sentencing and is now on the run. The 48-year-old could possibly be living as a man, as this previous image shows. She has links to County Durham, Leeds, Darlington and Dronfield in Derbyshire and speaks with a stutter.
Face number 3 is David Kernahan, although he also uses the surnames Burton, Connell, Leet, Lomax and Sackburn. He's wanted for questioning in connection to a robbery in which a 90-year-old woman was attacked in her home and £7,000 stolen. The 50-year-old has friends and family in North London and across Scotland.
Finally for now is this man, Geoffrey Bonsu. Detectives in Essex think he may have vital information about the rape of a teenage girl. Bonsu is 34 years old and originally from Ghana, but now has links across London.
If you know where any of tonight's faces might be, please do get in touch on 08085 600 600. Calls are free from landlines and mobiles, and we'll go through the rest of the lineup a little later. The peace process in Northern Ireland has brought about a reduction in violence and the increasing normalisation of the work of the police service. Changes which make the cold-blooded shooting of an officer in Belfast just a few weeks ago all the more disturbing. Incredibly, he survived despite being hit several times with rounds fired from an AK-47. Well, tonight for the first time we can show CCTV of the incident and hear exclusively from the injured officer. To protect his identity, his words are spoken by an actor.
You go through a whole range of emotions. Everything slowed down. Thinking that's it. You've got minutes to live. I love the city. Belfast is great. Joining the police? It sounds cliched, but it was just the thought of helping people. You build a rapport, and they do end up knowing you by name. I'm not just a uniform. That night I'd been shown a new officer around, seeing where certain things were and just getting to know the area. We'd been to a few calls, but they weren't anything out of the ordinary.
While the officers patrolled, CCTV captured a red Audi A4 estate coming into the Ardoyne area. At around 7 p.m, it was seen again on Flack Street, just off Crumlin Road.
We'd been out for a few hours, and we decided to get a cup of coffee from the petrol station.
The officers pulled up in an unmarked car. Across the street, in a disused car park, they were being watched.
I realised that I didn't know how my colleague took his coffee, so I went back outside to ask him.
The gunman opened fire, spraying the petrol station forecourt with bullets.
I felt something hit me. I looked down and saw the bone was hanging out of my arm. I didn't feel any pain, but I ran for cover. Everything sort of slowed down. Blood was pouring out. I thought that was me. I thought I was going to die in that forecourt.
The red Audi was later found abandoned in the Andersons town area of West Belfast. It had been burnt out.
I've kind of dealt with the physical side of things. The mental side of things haven't really hit me yet, but I'm sure it will. There will be a time when it hits me, definitely. It will haunt me.
Well, I'm joined by Detective Superintendent Kevin Geddes from the Police Service of Northern Ireland, who's leading the investigation. Kevin, a shocking attack. What do we know about who's responsible?
This attack was carried out by a group who call themselves the New IRA. They're small in numbers, but they are dangerous. They have absolutely no community support. And in this particular attack, there was at least 2 individuals involved.
We can take another look at the CCTV now. It's terrifying to watch, and the public are seeing this for the first time tonight.
Yes, indeed. You can see the police officer running across the forecourt. as the bullets rain in. You can see from the CCTV a number of people filling up their cars with petrol as well as this attack takes place. Very reckless.
It's incredible he survived and no one else was hurt. It was obviously a very powerful weapon that was used. What more can you tell us about the gun?
Yes, it was an AK-47 type gun, similar to the one that we can see on the screen. We know that this weapon has been used at least once previously to attack police in Belfast.
Can you remind our viewers about the timings, particularly of the Audi car?
Yes, the Audi car, I know, was in the Ardoyne area of North Belfast at round about 5:30 at night on the Sunday. And then at 7 o'clock it parks up in Flack Street, and at 7:30, just after the shooting, it's used to drive the gunman away and is eventually burned out in West Belfast in Culmore Gardens.
And we can show our viewers a picture of the burnt out Audi now. It's distinctive. Can you tell us why?
Yes, it's a red Audi estate car. It's 15 years old and it only had one headlight at the time. Also in relation to this, I can tell you that there was a box of matches found behind the car, and these matches are very unique. They're only sold in one garage, Maguire's Garage in the Falls Road, and I believe that someone bought those matches along with filling up a can of petrol.
Most importantly, how's the officer doing now?
The officer is doing well, but it's important to remember that this is not just an attack on a uniform, this is an attack on a person.
OK, Kevin, for now, thank you very much indeed. Please do call now if you have any information which could help. The usual Crimewatch number again is 08085 600 600, or you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously about any of tonight's cases. They are on 0800 555 111.
So, still to come tonight, the hunt for a road rage killer.
Bro, is he flashing you? What's his problem? He's not going to get anywhere, is he?
But first, we've more cases the police need your help with, starting with an urgent appeal from detectives in Cleveland investigating the rape of a woman on Friday. The woman was with her toddler on the seafront in Redcar when she and the child were forced into a dark-coloured saloon car. The car drove off towards Yearby and the woman was then raped. The mother and toddler were then forced out of the car on Kirkleatham Lane almost 6 hours later. Detectives say the first suspect who was driving the vehicle was a white male in his late 20s or 30s, around 5'7" to 5'10", with short brown hair, with the words "love" tattooed across his knuckles. The second suspect is also white, in his early 20s, around 5'5", and had a local accent. If you have information on this case, please get in touch using the numbers on the screen.
Next is the murder of Ricardo Hunter, also known as 40, at a pool party in Surrey last year. He was one of around 400 guests at the house party in Headley near Epsom overnight on the 24th of July. Detectives need your help to piece together exactly what happened to Ricardo that night that resulted in him being shot dead with a 9mm bullet. That shot also injured a female partygoer in the leg. She's now making a good recovery. Tonight, detectives are releasing this CCTV footage for the first time. It shows a man police believe to be Ricardo arriving at the party at around 1:40 a.m. on the 25th of July. Who are the people with him? Police want to stress they are just witnesses, but they'd like to speak to them or anyone who knows anything about the murder. There is a reward of up to £10,000 for information, which leads directly to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for Ricardo's murder.
Detectives believe a man whose remains were found dumped by the M54 in Telford had suffered a blow to his face before he died. They've released this information tonight as they try to piece together what happened to Surjit Thakur before his murder. Workmen found his body on an embankment next to Junction 4 of the motorway on the 20th of August 2015. DNA revealed Surjit's identity. He was a father of 3 who'd been reported missing in October 2008. West Midlands Police can also reveal tonight that they've recovered bloodied tissues from Surjit's home. Do you know anything about what happened to Surjit and where he was between October 2008 and when his body was found dumped by the motorway 7 years later? Please call if you can help.
Detectives in the Met want your help to identify these men caught on camera in a residential area of Kensington and Chelsea. A multi-million-pound property was broken into on Christmas Eve last year, just before 8 p.m. The men are seen here a short while later, leaving the house and escaping with a large safe. Now, it might look a bit comical, but jewellery, cash and watches, some of which are shown here, were taken worth almost £2 million. Do you recognise them or any of the stolen items? If so, please get in touch.
Next, take a look at this.
We've been told she's done. No, I certainly wouldn't.
Well, the woman featured there was Sylvia Emilia Sokolowska as she was being arrested in February last year. She was due to be deported to Poland to complete her prison sentence for producing and trafficking drugs, but was granted bail and has now gone on the run. If you know where she is, get in touch. And you can see more on how police track down criminals home and abroad in Fugitives, a new series which starts on BBC One at 11 a.m. on Monday, the 13th of March.
Now, I've come out onto this test track area here at the Millbrook Proving Ground to see for myself just how distracting and how dangerous texting while driving is. So in the car here is Simon Cook, advanced driving instructor. I'm going to get my seatbelt on here. And how are you doing?
How you doing, Gerald?
Nice to see you. So you're going to take me around this course here.
Nice and gentle to begin with.
Okay, well, let's just see where the course takes us. We're going in it's a circular track really, isn't it? So
yeah,
we're just
it is, yeah.
Heading around this way.
Nice and gentle as she goes on.
You're a retared traffic officer as well?
I am, yeah. I was traffic man for 19 years, pointing patrol cars.
Okay, brilliant. And I'm turning left here, is that right?
It's hard left. That'll feed you gently onto the
okay,
test
that's
track.
cool. Okay. We've got this, so we're on the test track now. We've got these cones either side. You're just going to give me a little undistracted spin round
Sure,
first.
yes. So nice and gently, following it around to the right.
Yep,
so we're paying attention completely to the job in hand here.
Yeah, totally.
And you can plan ahead because you're looking ahead, and I can see your eyes are already working ahead of the car.
Yep.
And that's a feature in good driving, you know, working well ahead of the car.
Thank you, thank you. And then it gets a bit harder here because you've got some
hard
cardboard boxes on the
right.
corner.
Yeah, and
a
little bit left here.
Another little slalom chicane there.
That's right, yeah. And we've got a little bit of a cheeky right here.
Okay. Okay, I've got this covered. It's not easy, this bit, but I've got it.
And hard right.
Okay, and then right again. And then down the final straight. Let me just stop here.
So really easily achievable when you're applying yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this time we're going to throw in some distractions.
Okay.
And we're going to get you to try and respond to a text message or to send a text message.
All right, all right.
Let's see what the outcome
well, actually, funnily enough, I just heard it come in now. So let's the first thing is getting the actual phone out.
Yeah, so you've got to do that. It's a bit caught up. Try and get a second gear in
this is Tina, who's, okay, well, hang on, Tina's just messaged me, so I want to just try and reply to that.
That's okay, keep the car coming now.
Let me just hang on.
Here comes
really
the first
nice
right here.
Sorry, hang on, let me just, sorry.
Take the car over in that direction over there.
I'm out of gear now. Just really nice to hear from you.
Right there.
Okay, I'm
caught with that.
Okay.
Okay, I took control just for a moment.
Hang on.
That's it.
To here. I've got. Okay, I'm just sending it now. Well, I sent the text successfully. Was that not very?
Well, we saw what happened, didn't we? It was a catastrophe, really, because, you know, you're just not applying yourself. It's really simple.
Well, I'm glad you took the steering wheel, but you would obviously not normally be there.
I also operated the foot controls a little bit. I put some braking in for you as well, yeah.
Yeah, but I found that it was my refocusing from the phone to outside.
Absolutely the problem. You know, you've got to keep your eyes up in front of the vehicle. We talked about looking further down the road. It's an imperative.
Simon Cook, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, away from those texting distractions, more wanted faces now, starting with Olatunji Hamid George. He was found guilty of organising a series of sham marriages, enabling those taking part to stay in the UK illegally. He didn't hang around to be sentenced to 10 years in jail, though, and is now on the run. He uses the names Edwin, Harry or Henry, and also the nickname TJ. George is 44 and has a Nigerian accent and links to the West Midlands and across London. He also has the name Rayella tattooed on his right arm.
Face number 6 tonight is Christy Dunn, although detectives believe this may be a false name, as she also calls herself Martha Cameron and Miranda Stinson. Avon and Somerset police want to question her about a romance fraud in which a man lost over £180,000. Dunn speaks with an American accent and has links to the Bahamas, London and Bristol.
Do you recognise Kieran Brian Bartlett, who also calls himself Mikey or Cuzzy? Detectives investigating drug dealing in the Bracknell area of Berkshire believe he may have important information and would like to speak to him. He has a tattoo of a flower on his left wrist and another of the word brother on his chest. He's known to stay in Bracknell Hove, Reading and Brent.
Finally, we have Walikan Sultan Kal. Detectives in the West Midlands investigating the rape of a teenage girl and trafficking offences would urgently like to speak to him. The 25-year-old has links to Coventry and across London.
If you know where any of the faces are, then get in touch using the numbers on screen. You can find all the details on our website. Alongside more people, the police need your help to locate.
Updates on previous cases now, and last week we showed a special programme on the national operation coordinating non-recent child abuse investigations across the UK. Well, the response was incredible. Hundreds of calls were received, many from survivors who've never spoken before. Police say they've already had 234 referrals as a direct result of the programme, but you can still contact them by calling 101 or going to your local forces website. And please remember that NSPCC number is open 24/7, so if you still need any help, call in 0808 800 5000. Calls are free from landlines and mobiles.
Now, back in 2001, we featured the shocking kidnap of a 6-year-old girl. She was taken from the village of Barton under Needwood in Staffordshire and later found abandoned and extremely distressed 2 miles away. Well, earlier this month, 72-year-old Arnold Baxter from Rugby pleaded guilty to kidnap and indecent assault and was jailed for 9 years. He was caught after a DNA sample taken when he was arrested for drink driving matched one found on the little girl's clothing 15 years earlier.
And your information has helped to put a number of wanted faces behind bars, including these two, Paul Silverthorne and Leela Kassam. We asked for your help to find them in September after they'd been convicted of child sex offences but went on the run. Well, a farm worker who met them in Ibiza checked the Crimewatch website, recognised them and contacted the police. Both were brought back to the UK and Silverthorne is now serving a 9-year sentence. Kassam will spend the next 4 years behind bars. A great result. Tonight we have been looking at the devastating impact of crime on our roads, and our next case is an extreme example of road rage. All the more tragic because it ended with the murder of 39-year-old Peter Swales, a married father of 4 young children.
They were really young. I remember him as nice, handsome. You know, he was my dad. Just remember loving him.
He was a bit of a joker. Liked to tell jokes all the time. A bit of a sort of Jack the lad, always talking and joking about with folk.
Bro, is he flashing you? What's his problem?
He's not going to get anywhere, is he?
Yeah, just pull over. No, just pull over. Let's just see what he's doing. It's all right. Just pull over here. Yeah.
All right, what's up with you? You're swerving all over the place.
All right, calm down.
I nearly hit you about 3 or 4 times.
We looked out the window and we... Full of it. Yeah. Oh, God. What's happened to this, man?
I didn't really understand what had happened. Just knew that he were at hospital and that he were poorly.
And my dad was on a bed. He had a tube down his throat. I'll never forget, the machine just beeped all the time. It was just like a beeping noise all the time, which has stayed with me forever. I think knowing that you've got to say goodbye to somebody, knowing that they were going to turn that machine off and you're never going to see that person again, yeah, it was pretty hard.
Well, Linda is now here in the studio. Linda, thank you for coming in. I know the memories are very raw and very recent for you. It was a tragic end to what had been an otherwise happy day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. This bloke just came up to the car window and smashed it.
And then Peter got out?
Peter were getting out of the car. And this bloke hit him over twice. And when I got out, he went on the floor. And I cradled him in my arms. And we managed to get him to Pinderfields Hospital.
Linda, I know, and thank you very much for coming in and telling us about that. We must find this man, obviously.
This is an undetected cold case murder, and our commitment to the family is that we will continue to resolve this matter for them, to give them the closure they need as a family, to understand what happened and bring the offender to justice.
This particular box contains documents in relation to the original investigation, such as photographs, officers' reports, drawings, details in relation to vehicles that were investigated.
An Avia watch was recovered at the scene. We don't believe this was Peter's watch. It may well be the watch of the suspect. That could be the vital piece of evidence that links us to the offender. Peter's lost his life. 4 children have grown up without a father. They need closure. They need to understand what happened.
I feel for my children. They've never known the granddad. They're never going to know the granddad. They've never had a chance to have a granddad.
Everything's been took away from us, really. I could walk by this person every day. They could know me. They could know my family. It's awful.
I'm joined by DCI Jim Dunkerley, who is leading the cold case review of this harrowing case. Dreadful to see the effect on the family 21 years ago, but you're hopeful, are you?
Absolutely. We've got advances in forensic science now, which we can use for our undetected cases. But after 21 years, I think somebody out there knows the answers. They know who did this. 21 years further down the line, I think loyalties have changed and people may now be able to come forward and give us the information that they felt they couldn't do in the past. And I'm hopeful that we can give that for the family. We've seen how it's affected them on the film.
All right, now let's talk about the area where it happened. Fairly rural, I gather.
Absolutely. If we see on the map, this is Garmill Lane near Fitzwilliam. It's a rural area to the south of Wakefield. This is a tight-knit community,
and I firmly believe that the answer is within that community.
What do we know, Jim, about the attacker?
The attacker is described as a white male. At the time, he would have been 20 to 30 years old. He's around 6 feet tall. As we can see on the e-fit, he's got close-cropped brown hair, and he spoke with a local accent, using a small vehicle, possibly a Maestro, and may have been wearing the Avia watch that we saw deposited at the scene.
And a bit more information as well, because you think that you've got an idea about the weapon that was used.
Yes, the weapon has been described as a wooden bat. It's probably about 24 inches in length, 2 feet, possibly an Indian club or a rounder's bat. As we can see on the screen, that gives a general impression of what it looks like.
Thank you very much indeed, Jim, for talking to us tonight. Take another look at the e-fit then. If you can name this person or help in any way with the case, I do urge you to get in touch using the numbers on the screen.
Well, just time for a quick update on tonight's other cases. Paul, you've been taking calls on the carjacking of Michael Watson, and you've had an encouraging response.
Tina, some calls, yes, about the sightings of the Mercedes, the white Mercedes. What I would like to say is we are looking for 2 black men, the suspects, the eyewitness said, 2 black men, and the incident happened in Chingford in East London on the 16th of February at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Michael and his carer still recovering from quite serious injuries, aren't they? So we really need to find out who was responsible.
That's right. They both said what they want out of this is to get those people in prison so they can't do this to anybody else.
OK, Paul, thank you. And Kevin, you've been taking calls on the attempted murder of a police officer in Northern Ireland. What's come in for you?
Yes, there's been some calls, but I still need some more information. I need to know 3 main things. I need to know who was involved, in particular who was the gunman. I need to know where the gun is so we can get it off the streets and help keep people safe. And I need to know the movements of the car, particularly in January. OK, thank you very much. And before we mentioned taking pictures of other drivers, of course we meant pedestrians. Please keep your calls coming in.
Well, that is just about all we have for you on what looks to have been a busy night on the phones.
Yes, and remember, you can head over right now to the Crimewatch website, where we'll be streaming live with all the latest developments on tonight's appeals, wanted faces and CCTV. Our next programme investigates the threats posed by cybercrime.
What we're seeing is an escalation in cyber criminal activity. We have to think about, well, what are the risks in our own home? Identity theft, cyber fraud, online solicitation. The general population can in fact be high-risk victims all of the time.
That's coming in a fortnight as we're taking a break next week for the FA Cup.
But for now, thank you so much for all of your calls. They really do make a difference.
From everyone here at Millbrook, goodbye.
Good night.